Hey, how are y'all doing? This is Jay. Today we're going to go over dermatofibroma, otherwise known as a fibrous histiocytoma, but a lot of people just call it DF or dermatofibroma. They usually grow in the extremities, like the legs, hands, feet. Usually anyone can get them. Most often occurs in the third to fourth decade. Oh, before I forget, thank you to Path Presenter for this online slide of a DF. So from low power, a telltale sign of DF is what we call follicular induction. And what that means is the epidermis becomes acanthotic or thickened and elongated. And that's a good hint because there are entities that called like for blue nevus, for example, they can look like DF sometimes, but they shouldn't have this follicular induction. And it's important to note that because sometimes in some cases it can mimic a basal cell carcinoma because you may think like it's suggestions of peripheral palisading, but really if it is a basal cell carcinoma, you would want more clefting, you would want myxoid stroma, you would want very prominent peripheral palisading. And so just something to keep in the back of your mind. DFs are generally dermal based. They should really not go into the subcutis. And if they do and they're pushing, I mean, you could see that, especially for very large cases. But if it's like entrapping the fat, invading the subcutis, then you want to think more about DFSP, which is a dermatofibroma sarcoma protuberans. And that isn't benign and it has a risk of like fibrosarcomatous transformation. So just keep those in the back of your head. Telltale signs for DFs, they're relatively symmetric and they're like a histiocytic fibrous kind of entity. So they will stain for CD68 and 163 histiocytic markers. At the periphery, you should see these collagen trapping. So the reticular dermis here, you see the collagen and it's entrapped by the DF cells. And so that's a good example of collagen trapping. There are a lot of variants of DF, including cellular DF, and those tend to recur even if excised. And one of my staff who told me a hint he uses for cellular DF is if you in the lesion, if you don't see the collagen strands, but just the fibrous histiocytic cells, then he'll call it a cellular DF. For DFs, compared to DFSPs, DFs, I think they are more, I tend to see them as more varied in terms of comparing the cells to cells. And that makes sense because it's not driven by translocation. However, DFSP is driven by the 1722 COL1A1 PDGFB translocation. And translocation-driven tumors tend to be monomorphic. So that's another hint. So this is a good case of a DF. And last thing before I forget is, CD34, especially for cellular DFs, it will be like positive on the periphery, but it shouldn't be diffusely positive. However, DFSP will be CD34 positive. DFSP will be factor 13A negative, but DF will be factor 13A positive. Well, we talked about DF, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.